Hey, everybody, welcome to the Sports Reform Podcast. This is episode 0, Laying Out the Reform. I'm your host, JT, and alongside me today are Jeff and Scott. All right, so introductions. Because this is the first episode, or I guess the inaugural episode, we're calling it episode 0 because we're not really getting into sports topics. We should probably go around, introduce everybody, just say a little bit about us, especially our sports backgrounds, and most importantly, who we root for, because that they probably want to do with that. So when I pick the Penguins to win, they can call me a blatant homer. All right, so I'm JT. Personally, I have played in my life Little League Baseball. I played that into middle school, and then I stopped in that. After that, I took up golf and the sport of bowling, which is odd for a high schooler, but that's okay. And then in my adult years, I picked up ice hockey, just as more of something to do more than an actual competition. And in terms of my fandoms, college-wise, I'm an Auburn fan. Suck it, Bama people. Suck it. Let's see. Baseball, we're all from Atlanta, so obviously I'm a Braves fan, even though that's about the extent of my Atlanta fandom. Football, I'm a Broncos fan. Don't ask why. Actually, it's John Elway. And then in hockey, I'm a Pittsburgh Penguins fan, as I mentioned before. And basketball, even though I follow the NBA, I really don't have a team that I root for. I follow the Hawks, but that's mostly just a function of we live in Atlanta. That's everything all the local media covers. Hard to get intriguing Charlotte Bobcats or...
It's either Atlanta or Cleveland on the news.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's Cleveland, Golden State, and Atlanta locally. That's all you get. So how about you, Scott?
Oh, well, for me, I'm Scott. Again, I think we've said it already, maybe a few times. I'm really awkward at this. Sorry, guys. My sports background, just played any and all sports really growing up. Never a whole lot of organized sports. Wasn't on official teams in high school, things of that nature, but played a lot of different things. Never great at anything, but just a good all-around athlete, so to speak. As far as fandoms go, Cubbies and Bears all the way, straight from Chicago. Never actually been to Chicago, as stupid as that sounds, but I've followed both the Bears and Cubs really since I've been about 7 or 8 years old. Hope to see a game, both games really there in Chicago one day. But those two teams are my jam. Really, for college football, I tend to stay out of that argument here in the South. That is a dirty term to go back and forth against different people. So I'm just going to say no comment on the college football aspect of it. What are the other ones left? NHL is going to be the Washington Capitals. Again, my teams might seem a little all over the place for someone who grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, but that'll be explained at some point, or maybe never. It's up to me, really. And then NBA, same as Josh, really follow, but don't have a real allegiance to any of the specific teams, just a fan of the sport.
And I'm Jeff. I grew up playing soccer, baseball, basketball, touch lacrosse, a little bit of hockey here and there. Coached high school lacrosse in the state of Georgia, so it wasn't super competitive. It's not a real hotbed yet. Pro teams, Dolphins fan, as painful as that is to say in the NFL. NBA don't really follow it, just kind of like the guy said. We got the Hawks here in town, so it was nice when they weren't so good because tickets were really cheap for whoever you wanted to go see. Hockey, grew up in upstate New York. We had the Little Devils, so I'm a Devils fan in the NHL. We also we go to quite a few Gladiators games here in Atlanta, East CHL.
We all do.
Hopefully we can tie some of them into this program into the future. College sports, we'll just say it in that way, just not just football, but is the Ohio State University. Living in South Georgia in 2006 and 7 when we played Florida, and that was just painful. Lots of bets were lost that year, and so I got some thick skin because being a Buckeye fan in Atlanta, you hear it all. But hey, we beat Bama in the first year of the playoffs, so that was very, very nice. And soccer, big shout out to the MLS. Yeah, we now have the United here in Atlanta.
Yes, we do.
I'm very excited.
Off to a bit of a rocky start for them at home, but we'll see once they get into Mercedes-Benz how that changes. But that should be fun to follow. I think it covers all the sports.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and baseball, Cleveland Indians fans. So Scott and I had some fun in the fall. Unfortunately, Scott's team got the better of mine. So
I should have thrown in real quick that being a Cubs fan, it's been a lot longer than just this past year. Not a bandwagon fan. I was with them not for the full century of disgust, but about a decade and a half of my life through that mess.
yeah,
The only real issue is we're too young to really have grown up in the Harry Carey era.
Well, I can still represent.
I mean,
Sorry to cut in, Joe.
He's legendary, but we never actually got to see him as teenagers when we can remember it. We saw a couple broadcasts when we were kids on WGN and the Super Channel, but back then you really couldn't appreciate it. A 7-year-old can't appreciate Harry Carey the way a 20-year-old can.
I still think it builds that foundation.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, you build off the sports that you learn as a kid. Again, that's why I'm a Cubs and Bears fan.
There you go.
Cool. Well, what we hope to accomplish, getting back on track here, for our podcast, The Sports Reform, we want to change the way that sports see themselves. Really just go into in-depth anything from rule books to fan bases, to how the leagues themselves are run. Just really a good overview and really trying to make the sports more aware, especially in this ever-changing age. It's 2017. Sports are extremely different, even than they were 5 years ago, but especially 20 and 30 years ago, really as the major league different sports started to pop up in really big fandom. So really just want to dig down into this. Again, we're not giant experts, so to speak, in the topics. We haven't had sports degrees and haven't been coaching for decades and decades and don't have a whole lot of major contacts in various different sports, but just through our research and our fandom and all the understanding and cheer that we give sports, just really want to be able to speak into the topic and do it intelligently. We're not going to go at this blind, and we do want feedback, obviously, where we're wrong. If you guys have input as to how we can improve, how sports can improve, what that looks like, we're just trying to get the conversation going. We do recognize that there are other places that have this conversation, but we're trying to come at it with a little bit different spin. So if you would just join along with us on this journey, we're looking to have a whole lot of fun.
Pretty much the common man's interest in this game. We all have ideas. You listen to sports talk radio. There's a lot of great ideas that come up. So if you want to connect with us, if you have ideas, we have an email address, sportsreform@gmail.com. We have a phone number. It's 530-377-6787, or more simply, 530-3sports. We are also on Twitter. You can look us up at The Sports Reform. So that's kind of our three main ways to get in touch with us at the moment. But we'd love to hear from you guys as we get going in this endeavor and adventure.
And too, if it's easier, if they want to reach out via Facebook, we don't have a Facebook yet. But if a bunch of people write in, it's like, please create a Facebook. We'll create one.
And obviously on the YouTube channel, you're watching this too.
Oh yes, and
Sports
YouTube as
Reform
well.
there. So you leave comments there. But I guess the big sporting events coming up this week, we have the NBA Finals starting, and we have the NHL Finals starting. So I guess to close out this episode, why don't we go around and give our predictions for each?
All right, I guess I'll start. So for the NHL Finals and the Stanley Cup, honestly, I view it as it's a battle. Nashville has arguably the best blue line in the league, or at least in the West. And obviously it's leaps and bounds ahead of the Penguins. And then they have a hot goalie. Pekka Rinne's got a .941 save percentage during these playoffs. Here's the problem. Johansson's injured, and beyond that, they have no depth at their centerman position, and that's the Penguins' strong suit. You have Crosby, even though he has not been the same since he got the concussion earlier in the Capitals series, although Malkin stepped up and he's got Phil Kessel on his wing. So that's going to be the big storyline going through this. And I know everybody likes a good Cinderella story. and the hockey gods, and call me a homer, but I'm going to say Penguins in 6. I think
Given the Preds too.
I think Nashville can easily win game 1 if they come up with a couple tricks. They pull it out. Penguins aren't expecting it. Penguins are tired. They're fatigued. They're injured. They just got through a pair of 7-game series. And also, I think that game 3, when that series switches to Nashville, Bridgestone Arena is going to be nuts. So yeah. I think the Preds can take 2 off the Penguins. So I'm going to say Penguins in 6.
And NBA?
NBA, all right. This is the age-old conundrum in science of the unstoppable force versus the immovable object, where you have the Cavaliers and the Warriors. And when these teams are so evenly matched like this, I have to go to who's fresher. And I know it's the rust versus rest argument. The thing is, LeBron James, they just had a very, very difficult series. Well, not difficult, but a longer series against the Celtics, albeit 5 is not that long. But the Golden State Warriors swept their way into the finals again. So I'm going to give the edge to the Warriors, but I'm going to say that one's going the distance in 7 games. And I would not be surprised if there are a couple of overtimes in the series.
So you're not making an overall prediction, just 7 games?
I said Warriors in 7.
Okay. Sorry.
Warriors in 7.
Okay. I misunderstood. Well, I'll go ahead and jump in real quick. I'll start with the NBA Finals, kind of piggybacking off of Josh. Again, kind of the same things. Love them or hate them, I feel like every sport has a face, and for the past decade, it has been LeBron James. I myself am not the biggest fan of his career, but you gotta respect what he's been able to do, not only for the teams he's been on, but just for the league itself. Overall for the NBA. I do give a lot of credit to Golden State. I mean, especially coming off last year with the best record ever. Unbelievable accomplishment. I honestly never thought it would be, no one would be able to top the Bulls record from the 90s, but just an outstanding job. I unfortunately have to give the edge, though, to Cleveland, even though it pains me to do so, but I'm going to give them the edge, and I'm going to call it Game 6 for them. Moving back over to the NHL, being a Caps fan, I'm extremely disappointed in the way that this turned out, but with JT getting the edge on me, it's very disappointing. I don't give the Predators as much credit as JT does, though. I honestly see the Pens winning it in 5 games. I'm only going to give the Preds 1. The reason being, I would very much love to choose against the Penguins, but when my team gets beat in the playoffs, I want the team that beats us to go all the way. That way it proves that we lost to the best possible team and we didn't lose to a loser. So it makes sense in my mind. That's my bold prediction.
I'll jump in. I'll start with I think NHL is a little easier. The Preds have had an amazing run.
They have.
I don't think anybody can deny that. There's so many injuries to the key players. They've surprised each team, though. I think they have a real chance in Game 1, having the extra time off between series where the Pens have had to go back-to-back Game 7s series. That takes a toll. If Rene can come out hot, I think they can steal Game 1. If not, it could be a long but quick series for the Preds. When they do get to Bridgestone, I think that, like JT said, we'll give them an extra boost. So I am taking the Pens in 5. I think the Preds will pick up 1 along the way, but they just don't have the firepower unless the blue line does miraculous work. Time will tell on that one, but I say Pens in 5. The NBA, everybody's always heard the conspiracy theories about the NBA's playoffs and the draft picks and all that fun stuff. So I think this series will go longer than shorter. 6 or 7, I think, is easily going to happen. Cleveland showed some weaknesses on the perimeter defense. Boston was getting some wide open shots. They were just ice cold. So if Cleveland can come out and actually step up their defensive play, I think they'll take it. I don't think Golden State's defense can match Cleveland's defense if the Cavs actually decide to play defense. If you look at the Cavs throughout the regular season, They don't play defense.
No.
They say, we know we can score and we're just going to outscore you. So when we talk about that flipping of the switch the Cavs have done this year, they just play defense. That was really the big thing. But, Golden State added Kevin Durant over the offseason. It took some time for them to gel, but now that they've come together, it's an offensive machine. So I'm going to go with the old adage, the best way to win a championship is a defense. The offense might sell the tickets, but that defense is going to win the championship. So I'm going to take the Cavs in 6.
Cavs in 6.
Closing out in Cleveland.
One thing's for certain. I think that series is going to smash all television ratings.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think you saw that this playoff season, the NHL's had the far more exciting playoffs, but I think that's going to flip now that we're in the finals. I think definitely, everybody was expecting Cleveland, Golden State, and that's what we got. So I think you're going to see those ratings flip dramatically. So.
And those are on the books, our official picks, so we get to give each other
next week when we come back, we're going to just,
when we got
everything
wrong,
you're never going to hear the end of it.
Yeah. And we'll know from...
It's a great way to start a legacy.
For everyone listening.
The Predators managed to sweep the Penguins for some ungodly reason.
I will not complain in the least.
It's like, okay, the hockey gods are real. They want Cinderella to win this year.
All right, well, that wraps it up for episode 0. Stay tuned. We're just going to continue on. Again, we're changing the way sports see themselves. It's going to be a fun journey, so join along with us.